Do you believe
do
you believe in punishment for abortion? Yes or no, as a principle?
The answer is that there has to be some form of punishment.
For the woman?
Yeah, there has to be some form.
Donald Trump's answer to Chris Matthews in March of 2016 on the issue of abortion.
Well, and as you say, Mika, Donald Trump followed through on that because women are now being punished across America.
Thank you, Chris, who joins us now for getting that answer, along with professor at Princeton University, Eddie Glaude Jr., and special correspondent at Vanity Fair and host of the Fast Politics podcast, Molly John Fast. She's an MSNBC political analyst. And Chris, the punishment is quite severe. What we found is that in many states now, we have seen women being put in situations where they face potential death, where they're being told to bleed out or wait until they're bleeding out, a lot of pain, the potential, and in many cases it's already happened, sterilization, because they are forced to bring babies that are have major abnormalities and will die to full term. Trauma for the woman, trauma for the woman's family, trauma for the other children in the family. And you know what? Extra punishment from Donald Trump to other women who aren't even pregnant but might need an abortion-like procedure, a DNC or a terminate, something to help, and they won't be able to get that, so they get punished too. So Donald Trump has done some great work in following through on his promise.
And what about 10-year-old girls that are raped by illegal immigrants who have to flee the state? 13-year-old girls who are forced to have babies because their mothers think, that happened. That they have to do it. I mean, it's just no, it's not. It's the suffering and the punishment that Donald Trump is exacting on women of all ages is really shocking.
You know, there was something in the instinct of his answer there where he said there needs to be some form of punishment. I think when he got rid of Roe v. Wade by naming the 3 new justices, he opened up the door to this, to everything, to the 14 states you mentioned, Miko, that outlaw abortion, and the states that make it very difficult, the 6-week ban. He changed the conversation. It's now about real pro-choice. Yeah. It's now about getting rid of all the bans. The fact that he would not support any ban at all, that when he went through his calculations for the last couple of weeks, remember, he was thinking through this. Yeah. Do I do a 16-week? Do I do any of this? He decided not to do it because it's changed. The conversation has changed. Anyone who supports a ban is on the other side. Right now, even 16 weeks, which would have been considered, well, negotiable at least at one point, but not now. So he's changed the whole conversation to what's going on in Arizona and to the 1860s bill. And, I think his instinct, though, of punishment, it does fit a lot of the things with him, the way he thinks about it, about women. And, when he makes fun of the women that he had relations with, apparently, with Stormy and E. Jean Carroll.
Makes fun of women's looks.
He says you're horse-faced, and he comes up with phrases like nicknames. Why is he coming up with them? Why does he just say, I didn't do it or something? He goes on the offensive. And I think with that, by the way, he's never taken that back. No. He's never said, I made a mistake, because he never says I make a mistake. No. He doesn't say, I make mistakes. I shouldn't have said that. I was thinking wrong. I had a bad attitude that day or something. He chose to say that. And the pro-life movement, as we know, I grew up with it, basically never supported any kind of punishment of the woman. So that was him, just him.
And this comes to us courtesy, Molly, of Judge William Howell. In 1864, a judge, again, appointed by Abraham Lincoln. So that's, I mean, you say it and you almost have to laugh, but it's reality now, been delivered to us. And there's punishment, 2 to 5 years in prison for anybody who administers an abortion.
What's so interesting about what's happening right now in the Arizona State House is that Democrats are still trying, even though this law will ultimately serve them in a swing state, they are still trying to get it overturned, and Republicans are still fighting with them. And I think it's such an interesting moment because, remember, there was a border bill, right? There was a border bill all cooked up, and Donald Trump said to Mike Johnson, no, do not pass this border bill. I need to run on the border. And then here we have Arizona, where this bill will actually ultimately serve the electoral ambitions of Democrats. And they are like, no, we don't want women to die. We don't want to live like this. And so I do think that that's a really interesting dynamic.
All right. Trump spoke with reporters in Atlanta yesterday, and he's going all over the place with his position on abortion because he realized the storm is coming. He said he would not sign a federal abortion ban, reversing a promise that he made as a candidate back in 2016. And just days after saying abortion policy should be left to the states, he then criticized Arizona's Supreme Court, saying it went too far and doing exactly what he said it should do. Restricting abortion access. Take a look.
Did Arizona go too far?
Yeah, they did, and that'll be straightened out. And as you know, it's all about states' rights. That'll be straightened out. And I'm sure that the governor and everybody else are going to bring it back into reason, and that will be taken care of, I think, very quickly. Florida is probably maybe going to change also. See, it's all of it's the will of the people. This is what I've been saying. It's a perfect system. So Florida is probably going to change. Arizona is going to definitely change. Everybody wants that to happen. And you're getting the will of the people. It's been pretty amazing when you think.
Yeah, pretty amazing.
That's
He's
fantastic.
whistling past a political graveyard there. Jonathan Lemire and others reporting that the Trump campaign is in meltdown mode now. They know he screwed up royally going out giving that speech. He was going to talk about a 15-week or a 16-week ban, and then he pulled back from that, didn't have the guts to do that. So he's trying to be all things to all people. And in abortion, that means you're nothing to everybody. And so here, Donald Trump is going to run in Florida with a 6-week campaign, a 6-week abortion ban politically wrapped around his neck. In Arizona, he's going to be doing the same thing with a 160-year abortion ban following behind him, whether they eventually repeal it or not. But that's even questionable. You know, I remind our viewers that Republicans in Wisconsin had an opportunity before the most important Supreme Court election in recent time to repeal a total abortion ban that was put in place when John Tyler was president, and they didn't do it. And they paid the price. So I don't know. We'll see if Arizona Republicans decide to keep this 160-year ban on the books.
Hey, everyone. MSNBC has a new and improved app. You'll get real-time alerts and analysis, live blogs, in-depth essays, video highlights, and the best 2024 election coverage. Download the new MSNBC app. Here's how to do it. You tap on the App Store on your phone. You hit search on the bottom right corner. You type in MSNBC. You click on the MSNBC app. You click on Get or the cloud icon and enjoy it.